Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McCauley, the owner of Wholehearted Parenting, and welcome to Three Things Chats That Inspire. I love this because I get to talk to people who I care about a lot and people who have awesome things to say. And today we're talking with Meredith Sills of Studio Ronin Yoga. She is very dear to my heart, and let me share a little bit about her with you. Meredith is a practicing yogi and yoga teacher living outside of Boston. And she came to yoga for health reasons initially, but she became very passionate about yoga, and it became more than simply a remedy for illness. It was a complete lifestyle change for her. And right now she teaches live public courses and yoga classes and online classes as well. She mentors teachers, and she leads some fascinating yoga retreats in some pretty amazing places. So she teaches yoga and meditation, and that whole thing has transformed into a career of holding space and sharing knowledge with others along this path. So when Meredith is not on her yoga mat, she can be found hidden amongst the leaves somewhere in her growing plant collection, and chasing around her cats, who are all beautiful, or out tending to her chickens. So Meredith, welcome here today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you for the invitation.
You are very welcome. And we're going to be talking today about finding balance and renewal. We're recording this towards the beginning of 2023, and a lot of people think at the beginning of the new year, I've got to set a lot of resolutions. And I find that resolutions not only just don't work, that they create a lot of stress. In some ways, they're sabotaging to what we ultimately want to achieve or gain or benefit from. And I find that talking about balance and having practices for restoring balance and for restoring your renewal are much, much more valuable to living the life that you'd like to live in this new year and always, really. So balance is that space that we hold where we can come at things or make decisions or approach situations from a place of calm and centeredness. That's my definition. And renewal is the ability to see things in a fresh way. It's like a new perspective on things. And so that's what I mean by balance and renewal. And if there's anything you'd like to add to that, Meredith, please feel free.
I love all of that. It sounds very poignant and resonates quite a lot. I know it's sort of a developing idea about the sort of counter pressure against resolutions. And it's neat to hear that be the conversation that's coming up instead of the old, it's like, well, better get to the gym, better do this, better stop doing all of my everything's my vices. It's refreshing and sounds like we're going in the right direction to sort of analyze some of those practices.
Oh, I love what you said. And even hearing the go to the gym, give up my vices and all that. There is so much pressure even around that. So, and Meredith has brought three things to the table today, and I love all of them. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. So number one is meditate.
Yeah. So I think before I even kind of dig into the first topic of my list, it's a little bit of the snake that eats its tail, because this could very well be on someone's resolution list. It's a practice that, I should start meditating because I know it's good for me, or this or that or the other. But if you kind of jump in to the deep end of the pool, the practice actually helps deliver you into the place where you can acknowledge that you need a little more balance or renewal, right? Because it's usually those places where suddenly we show up to ourselves and it's burnout or frustration or whatever, where it kind of just sneaks up on you and you're like, whoa, how did I get here? I better do something to kind of make myself feel better. And the meditation practice is something, although it is something to begin, which could get you a little bit back to that place of like, here's a new thing I've got to start. But once you do, it's really refreshing in that it constantly teaches us to be checking in with ourselves, so we don't wind up in that place way over here on our burnout scale of like, oh man, I'm in such an energy or emotional deficit that it's going to be a lot harder to dig myself out of that space. So while it seems for some folks kind of daunting to begin a meditation practice, it is extremely advantageous to what I'll call maintenance, just regular old human maintenance. We talk about this in the meditations sometimes that I lead, but it's kind of like brushing your teeth or flossing. It's something like nobody's going to wake up one day and say, well, I've chosen to not ever brush my teeth again because I'm going to eat breakfast soon, and then after that I'll eat again, so my teeth are just going to get funny or my breath's going to get smelly, so I've decided to forsake brushing my teeth.
Why bother?
Why about it? No, because it's a part of the maintenance, right? That's more of our physical form of how we keep our teeth clean and our health up to date. But the maintenance of everything else that's going on in here or in here, the meditation is a different kind of maintenance, where you chip away at just a little bit of space for yourself, whether it's every day, every other day, whenever you can consciously fit it in. But it's a big leg up in the conversation of trying to recognize when you need some of the renewal or the inspiration to get back to a little more calm or centered place. So that's my big elevator pitch for why we should try to put meditation in the list of things that are very important. But
I think that's awesome. And I think in our culture, we do not value rest, not value silence. And, I've even been hearing podcasts and other people talking about how rest is so vital, and how shifting a value to resting supports us. And it's tied into so many cultural things that we don't have time, or it's not the topic today. But there's a lot of cultural things behind this don't rest, that keep pushing yourself, tied into that fierce independence and do this alone. And one of the things that Meredith offers some morning meditation time, which I've been doing, and I've noticed a difference in my nervous system throughout the rest of the day.
awesome.
Fortunately for me, it starts at 9 a.m., which is a great way to start the day. And I feel a total difference in the rest of my day and in my nervous system. And I feel much more balanced and resilient and flexible throughout the day. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yay. Number 2, read for fun.
Ooh, this is a good one. And it kind of goes hand in hand to what you were just alluding to, the idea of the pressure to constantly be doing something, whether it's to catch up with work things or, even in some of the more, I don't know, I'll use like a really questionable term, but like woke cultures where people are constantly trying to better themselves all the time, no matter what, where there's this pressure to grow and develop yourself nonstop, which, is nice that we have the sense of self-awareness to be like, oh, there are skills that I can work on, or that there's self-development that could make my life or the people around me's life a little bit easier. But it becomes like anything else with a little bit too much of it, right? It becomes the pressure and then the stress that goes along with it. So the sense of being able to read for fun has been really, really useful for me because, especially in my work, there's a lot of times where I could be reading for work, for development, for research, for curriculum, and sure, it's hours clocked reading, which is good for your brain. And, all of those sort of nervous system things that come along with focusing in on something in front of you or using different parts of your mind while you're interpreting imagery or linguistical interests in your brain as you're translating. But there's something really special about reading like complete nonsense just for the sake of enjoyment, like I'm a big fan of really dorky, and this is certainly my older brother's fault, but very dorky high fantasy kind of epic novels. You know, it's like, when was the last time you read Lord of the Rings or something, you know, that is so detached from your daily life, or how to be a better person, or learning how to fix something that's broken in your house. It's just a very important piece of taking time for yourself that isn't necessarily for how to make yourself better. It's just for the sake of enjoyment.
I love this because my nightstand is stacked with books like polyvagal theory,
Yes.
the power of discord, and all of these are awesome books, and they are fun to read. I mean, because they apply to what I do, and I love what I do, and that's reading for fun.
Yeah.
Even though they are fun.
Yeah.
So yeah. A really good book that I read not too long ago is called The Gentleman from Moscow. I will say that is the best book I have ever read in my entire life.
Wow, that is a tall compliment. I'm gonna have to write that down immediately, because that seems like a very high compliment.
It was beautiful. And
Okay.
I gave that book to people for Christmas, because it just, and I've never said about any book, this is the best book I've ever read.
Right.
It was stunning and
Wow.
And heartwarming. So yeah. So if okay.
I'll put it on my fun only list of reading.
Very cool. So, number 3, play in the dirt.
Yes, play in the dirt. And we're picking up a very common thread that goes through all of Meredith's lists of things that help bring renewal and balance. But it's a sense of being able to really pay attention to what's going on right now, which is a kind of very sneaky alternative definition for meditation. And there's something very soothing about doing something with your hands that forces your whole attention and your focus onto what you're doing. Now, sure, you could just walk outside and dig around in the dirt. That isn't exactly what I'm getting to. We're being a little colorful here, where I live, you know, you don't really go outside and do any gardening for half of the year. But for while you're inside, I have a huge plant collection of little babies that I'll propagate or grow or change pots, you know, just like indoor gardening. And there's something very simple and savory about, you know, digging your hands into the dirt, about trimming back leaves, about tending to the care of this little thing, you know, and it's not really high stakes. It's not like you need to, you know, go walk your dog or you feed your children, right? You know, it's like every once in a while you're like, oops, there goes that plant, and over the porch it goes, and you know, nobody's terribly upset. But so it's not a lot of pressure about this practice, but being able to focus on what my hands are doing while I'm tending to the pots and the plants is just, it's become something so rewarding, and something that, again, puts me in this container of being only concerned with what I'm doing right in front of me. You know, there's no background version of, oh, well, at 5 o'clock I have to go do this, or whatever is happening here. There's no alternative stress while this activity is happening. It's just a wholesome kind of thing, an experiential sensory activity, you know, where your body and your attention get to be involved with what you're doing.
I love that. I love That's awesome. So I love your 3.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Meredith, for bringing these today. And here's Meredith's website, Studio Ronin Yoga, if you want to take a look there. And it are your daily 6, which are the 20-minute meditation practice. Are they listed there? Is that listed there?
Sure. They are on the classes page. So when you hunt for a little bit more information, they will be there along with the link, the Zoom link that we use for those sits every day. They'll be clickable there from the classes page.
Oh, wonderful. And is there anything you'd like to share about any retreats that you have coming up?
Ooh, I mean, well, there's the nod to the big retreat coming up. We usually lead at least one international yoga retreat a year, depending on availability and what's going on in the world. But now that we're back to traveling, We're headed to Mexico in July, just outside of Puerto Vallarta, to a little place and a resort called Zinalani. So it's a very sort of hip, cool resort, for lack of a better word, where they feed you well. There's all sorts of activities. They do a lot of very cultural things. There's the sweat lodge or the cacao ceremony, some of these things that are native to this area. And then, of course, a whole bunch of yoga. I have a partner who co-teaches all of the retreats with me. So you get to experience two different teachers, and there's usually 2 classes a day, plus some sort of little meditation somewhere. And it all just happens to take place in a place that looks and feels and smells like paradise, which doesn't hurt. So
Well, that sounds wonderful. So I invite you all to please check out studioroninyoga.com and see what's coming up and see what strikes your fancy. And as I said, I've been doing the daily sits and very profound impact. They're lovely. So I want to tell you about 3 things coming up here through Wholehearted Parenting. One of them is the live virtual event on finding balance and renewal. And it's coming up on Saturday, January the 21st, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And you can read much more about it and register for it at wholeheartedparenting.com. Just click on the shop, and it is the very first icon that you'll see. We're also introducing 2 things this year. One of them is a parent group. This is not a parent course, it's a parent group. And there'll be 9 hours that we spend together. I will address at the very beginning of each of our times together a topic that are listed there, like what do children need, actually? What do children need for secure attachment? Because we get tied into perfectionism with our parenting. And what is it exactly that kids need in order to become happy adults? And so good enough parenting versus perfectionism. We get into leadership, authority, and power, communication and boundaries, feelings, discord, and repair, where the repair is the big deal there, self-compassion, and empathy. So those are our topics in that parent group. You can go to the shop again and scroll down a little bit. You'll see 2 icons. One is for individuals, one is for couples. There are a lot of perks in there for savings on other things that we offer. There are a maximum of 6 people in both the parent group and the coaching group that I'm going to tell you about next, and a minimum of 3. So it'd be lovely to spend that time together. Then our coaching group begins on March 8th, and that includes 9 hours of coaching. We begin each of those with a topic. The first one is called Embracing All Parts of You, and that's pretty much an introduction to internal family systems. And then we talk about building connection, social relationships and family, communication and boundaries, feelings, discord and repair, respect, and self-compassion and empathy. You'll see a lot of tie-ins with the parent piece there. And there are a lot of perks for this one as well. So check it out at the shop. There's an individual registration and a couple or 2 people registration. You could be friends. You could be 2 complete strangers. It's just 2 people signing up together. With some savings there. So thank you, Meredith, again. Thank all of you very much for listening, and have a great day, a great week, month, and year.
thanks, Maggie.
You bet. Thank you, Meredith.